there are some people in the room that may not be very smart at all.
Yeah.
Like there have been some rooms that I've been in, and I hear what people are saying, or I see what they do, or what have you, and they might be at a particular status level, and I think to myself, it's like, man, if I had half of your money or half of your access, like
Yeah.
I would run circles around you.
Welcome to another episode of Grab Coffee with me, where great conversations and even better coffee meet purpose, leadership, and the people making a real impact in their communities and industries. Today's episode is brought to you by Dial Golf Solutions, transforming corporate events one golf experience at a time. I'm your host, Ian Peterson, so let's pod. Today's guest is a connector, a strategist, and the founder of NEXTKNOWN and Empowering Creative. He's known for helping people and brands become known for what truly matters. With a background in corporate leadership, entrepreneurship, and community impact, he blends strategy, storytelling, and relationships to create meaningful opportunities. He builds bridges across industries and empowers others to elevate their presence and expand their influence. Please welcome Kinard Robinson. How you doing, Canard?
I'm doing well, man. Thank you for having me.
Hey, thanks for joining us. I appreciate it, and I'm sure my audience will appreciate it as well. So let's get into it. Are you a coffee drinker? What
Not
you got in
really.
that cup? No.
No, I actually have blueberry green tea. Yeah, yeah. I've definitely turned into more of a tea drinker recently, especially green tea, because I'm on a fitness and weight loss journey.
Hmm.
And green tea is just really good for you, and especially when it comes to trying to drop some weight. I'll drink coffee on occasion with friends, or my wife loves coffee,
Yeah.
but for me, like, I'm good with a good cup of tea. Now I will say, I was at Joffrey's Coffee yesterday in Midtown,
Hmm.
and I tried something I never had before. It was a hot tea latte.
How was
It
that?
was it was good.
It
Like, it
was
was
good.
like, I forget what tea they used, but it was a one of the categories of green tea, and they add, of course, it's hot. Of course, they add milk and cream to it, like they do a latte, and it had like a hint of cinnamon in it. Like, it was good. I was like, I might have to do that
Nice,
again.
nice. So you mentioned your health journey, and you were on a panel this morning
Mhm.
at an event that I attended, and you actually talked about your health journey and that 4 mile walk was kind of cold now, but that 4 mile
Yeah.
walk every day you use to be productive. Can you share that with my audience? Kind of like, what you get out of that alone time with
Mhm.
yourself, with your thoughts, and how do you use that time to not only exercise your body, but also exercise your mind?
Yeah, so I started walking 4 miles every morning as a way to just start my fitness journey and begin to get more disciplined.
Yeah,
Um, and it's low impact, and it's low intensity, so there's really no excuse not to do it, right?
very
Unless
true.
it's 30 degrees outside, right? So to make a long story short, I was talking with the friend, and he asked me about when did I have time for me to just be in my space and be creative. And come to find out that this walk is a perfect time to do that. So I don't
Yeah,
listen to any. When I first started, I used to listen to music, but now I don't listen to music. I just go out, and 4 miles, it takes me about an hour and 10 minutes, hour and 15 minutes approximately. And I just allow myself to just think, be creative, try and find solutions, whether it's my business, or maybe something going on in the community, family. Man, honestly, sometimes, like, I find myself like talking to God, and just trying to, just trying to think about ways that I can better myself, which in turn can help everyone around me. And then sometimes, like, I honestly try not to think. I just flow, right? And if something comes to me, something comes to me. And if it doesn't, it doesn't, and that's okay.
yeah. Sometimes it's good just to be right.
Right.
And I
Right.
love my walks as well. And that's how this kind of got started, was me just walking to coffee shops, whether it's a mile away, 2 miles away, 3 miles away. It's not only was it a way for me to physically to help get in shape and to get right, but also, as I mentioned earlier, mentally. So for people who might be meeting you for the first time, how
Mhm.
did Empowering Creative and Next Known come to life?
Well, Empowering Creative came up. Honestly, God is the only explanation that I have because my degree is in industrial organizational psychology, and my corporate career, I spent the bulk of that in HR. So when I started my consulting company in 2015, I was really approaching it from a management consulting business strategy perspective. And again, to make a very long story short, I found myself with a video camera in my hands, and next thing I knew, I was sitting in meetings, and business owners were talking about video and social media.
Mhm,
So video and marketing and social media was something that I was very against in a lot of ways because that's not how I saw my path. I saw my path in a very structured corporate
mhm,
consulting space, right?
mhm, mhm.
But after some time, I realized, maybe God's trying to tell me something. Maybe I should explore this, right? So I did, and the marketing business grew. And honestly, Next Known is somewhat of a similar story because it wasn't even on my radar.
Yeah.
I was having lunch with a friend, and he expressed to me like, "Hey, Canard, you should do something that you're an expert in." And honestly, I don't consider myself to be an expert in anything. Never have. And I probably never will. My goal ever since I was a very young child, like I remember thinking to myself, I want to know something about everything.
Mhm.
So no matter where I was, what I was doing, who I was around, I had the ability to speak to something, share a perspective, connect the dot. And as I got older, being able to make introductions, like those are the things that have always mattered the most to me.
Yeah.
And I remember he looked at me with a very straight face and was like, "I hear you, but you're wrong."
Mhm.
Okay, please enlighten me, my man. And he said, "Canard, your ability to walk into a room, network, build the relationships is better than most people I've seen.
Mhm.
And if you can figure out how to teach people how to do that, you've got something." So after some thought, Next Known is what I came up with. And I'm calling it a professional positioning and networking accelerator. So I built an online platform to essentially help teach people how to network and build relationships to get them position in the best position possible for them to be successful.
Yeah. So when you think about your early days, well, first of all, what made you bet on yourself as an entrepreneur? Or what made you go from that structured, that constant or consistent check that will come in to the ebbs and flow of an entrepreneur? Because we talk about it, and there's
Yeah,
highs, there's lows, there's peaks, valleys, there's busy times, and there's quiet. There's times where it's just quiet. Like, what's going
yeah,
on? Did I make the right decision?
yeah. If I can be honest, I will say having my own company is something that I've always
Okay.
wanted to do. So that was something that was always on my radar. So even when I got out of college and I started my corporate career, I knew at some point I wanted to have my own company. It's just at that time I figured I have to wait 15, 20 years, get all this great experience, and then I can do it. But once I got out, I realized after 5, 6 years, I don't have to wait 15, 20 years. I can do this now. Right. And I was young. I was in my 20s. I didn't have a mortgage. I just paid off my first car. I didn't have a wife or a girlfriend. It's like,
Hmm.
I can go out and I can just fail and it's okay
Yeah.
because it's just me. Right. I would say the last part about it is, and I guess it kind of breaks down into two parts. Is that number one, my wife says I live in La La Land, and that I don't see the world the same way. So like I don't have the same type of fear, right? So there's nothing about jumping with no parachute and figuring out on the way down that scares me, right? But one thing I'll also say to that is that there is also thing out there was a lot of ignorance, right? I didn't know what I didn't know, right? And I think that it's and truthfully, I would say that's my greatest gift, but my greatest opportunity, right? I don't want to say curse. It's my greatest
Yeah.
opportunity. It's the fact that, you know, I jump, I don't know what I don't know, but I'm okay with it and I'm okay with figuring it out. And there have been situations where it's worked out phenomenally. And there have been times where it's like, this ain't good. How am I gonna get out of this? You know?
Yeah. But each time, whether good or bad, you learn something. So it goes back to what you said earlier
Mhm.
about you wanted to, when you were a kid, you remember having those thoughts that you want to learn you want to learn everything about everything, right?
Yeah.
So even if you fail, you're learning something. You're learning what not to do in the future, what to do better in the future. But I get it because again, being entrepreneurs, we we all go through that. I get it.
Yeah. For sure. For sure.
And so going back, again, early days, what was something no one warned you about, especially as a young Black entrepreneur that you had to learn the hard way, right? We often find ourselves in what they call white spaces.
Hmm.
We had a conversation earlier. I look at many opportunities as just spaces. I'm there for a
Hmm.
reason. But
Yeah.
what was something that you had to learn the hard way that someone did not warn you?
So one thing I'll say is that, being a Black man, like I recognize that not everybody sees me the same way,
Hmm.
and that's okay. But I've never allowed that to stop me. And then I'm sure you can agree with this. Like, if I'm in the room, I know I deserve to be there. Like,
Exactly.
I'm never gonna doubt myself. And truth be told, there's been a lot of conversation around imposter syndrome. And if I'm being honest, like, I don't know what that feels like,
Hmm.
because you can't tell me that I'm not good enough. You can't tell me I'm not smart enough. You can't, I mean, you can say that you have more experience than me. That's
Yeah.
cool. You can have more money than me. That's cool. But outside of those two things, I mean, what else do we have, right? I grew up playing football and running track. I was one of the smallest guys on the team. I played one of the hardest positions on the field. I played
Hmm.
corner. But you
Hmm.
know what? I didn't care how big you were. I didn't care how fast you were. You still had to deal with me the whole game,
Yeah.
right? And I think I took that same mentality with me into business. It's like, I don't care. You put your pants on one leg at a time, just like I do, right? But one thing I will say that I learned is that understanding how business truly operates, especially when it comes to like a financial perspective, right? There,
Hmm.
then I did not have anybody to say, hey, this is this is how you do your financials. This is what this looks like when you go to a bank. This is what they look for, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
These are all things that I've had to kind of learn on the go. Um, and access to things like capital, like, make a difference.
Hmm.
So, I mean, I'm glad that I've been on the journey that I have been on, but I will say that there have been a lot of bumps along the way that, had I had, a mentor early on that
Yeah.
said, hey, watch out for this, look for that, make sure as you're doing this, you're doing it this particular way. So that way, when I am in particular situations, it's not as big of a hurdle.
Yeah. Makes sense.
Does that
Makes
answer your
perfect.
question?
Yeah, that makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
And entrepreneurship, it can mess with your heads sometimes, right?
Yeah, yeah,
What
yeah.
doubts did you have to work through before you really started owning your role as a founder?
That's a good question. I don't know.
Hmm.
Like I said, I had never really doubted myself, and I as my wife likes to say it, like, I live in la la land.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
I think that that's worked to my advantage in a lot of ways.
that's
To
good.
where
Ignorance is bliss.
exactly, so to where, like, if there was a roadblock or there was a hurdle, like, I didn't really, either A, I didn't know about it, right?
Hmm.
Or B, if I did know about it, I was like, that don't matter.
Yeah,
We gonna make this happen regardless, right? And
yeah.
I think a lot of that also comes from the perspective, growing up, my mom always told me I had to work twice as hard, right?
Hmm.
So putting in the work has never been the issue, right?
Hmm.
For me, in my perspective, the issue has always been access and overall perception, right? Because there are so one of the things I've learned going back to the whole being in certain rooms, and I don't think people are smarter or better, is the fact that you realize that there are some people in the room that may not be very smart at all.
Yeah,
Like, there have been some rooms that I've been in, and I hear what people are saying, or I see what they do, or what have you, and they might be at a particular status level. And, I think to myself, it's like, man, if I had half of your money or half of your access, like, I
yeah.
would run circles around you. And that's not a cocky thing. It's just
Hmm.
I recognize that our worlds aren't the same, right? And when it comes time for me to have the same type of access as some of some other people do, how much more I can do with that, right? And I also think that leads to the more that I learn, the more that I try and expose others to, right? So whether they're young entrepreneurs, kids in school, trying to be a mentor in some way, shape, or form, like all those things are connected, right? Like I'm not just doing this just for myself and how I can achieve, success for my family, but I'm thinking about, hey, there's a whole nother generation behind me. Like, how can
Yeah.
I help them? Because even though I'm not where I want to be yet, I'm further along than where they are,
Hmm.
right? And there are a lot of things that have happened in my life to this point, and things that are still happening that are because of someone else,
Yeah.
right? Someone else has, taken the time to sit down and have coffee with me, or have lunch, or be able to share perspectives, right? I have mentors all over the place, right? Whether it's formal or informal. And
Hmm.
I can say that, you know, people taking the time to share with me is how I've made it to where I am. So I want to be sure that as I'm learning and growing, that I'm doing the same for those that are behind.
Love it. Love it. You going back to something that you said earlier. I think it was with starting next known, right?
Mhm.
You know, a lot of creatives. What's mindset shift creatives need to make if they actually want to turn that talent, right? Like, for example, you had a talent of networking. What
Mhm.
mindset shift would they need to make if they want to actually turn that talent into a business?
So I think that's an interesting question. And one of the things that I think people don't always recognize is that there's a difference between a side hustle and a business, right? When you have a side hustle, it's extra, right? And because it's extra, you don't understand some of the foundational pieces that you need to have in place for it to be sustainable, right? A lot of that comes down to really looking at, again, financials, looking at your costs, looking at all the things that come along operationally with running a business, right? So, I've been in situations from the marketing side where I give a prospective client a quote, and let's say the quote is for $10,000, right?
Hmm.
And they get a quote from someone else that's $3,000. And they're like, well, this is a big difference. I was like, well, I later find out that this company that they got this quote from is it's a side hustle. It's just extra, right?
Yeah.
So the fact of the matter is that company that's operating as a side hustle, as long as they're doing that, it would never be more than just a side hustle,
Hmm.
because they're not taking into consideration all of the things and all the steps that it takes in order to properly execute on what it is that they need to deliver. What equipment do they have? How much time is it going to take them? All the little things that matter when it comes to operating a business, right?
Hmm.
So I would say that that would probably be the biggest thing I would say, is that if you really are serious about turning something into a business, self-sustaining business, the your ability to connect your success to understanding business and the financials and the operations and all the components will matter.
Yeah, yeah, I like that answer. Now, let's talk leadership. And I've seen you at events providing a service, videography services, for example, under Empowering
Hmm.
Creative. See you with your staff, and in real time, it can get stressful. And you have other type of
Yeah,
services you provide with
yeah.
making commercials and things like that. How have you seen your leadership style change from where you were when you first started to now, especially in those type of environments?
I would definitely say knowledge and experience does make a difference,
Mhm.
but also making sure that you're always willing to learn and hear from others. I would say that those two things matter when it comes to leadership, right? Because no matter what's happening, things could be going super, super crazy, 100 miles an hour. Your ability to stay cool, calm, and collected in those moments matter, especially when it comes to the team that's around you. If you're flustered,
Mhm.
then that's going to translate to how the team is is going to react and handle the kind of situation, right? But also because, being able to listen, there might be someone on a team that has a thought, an idea, or a perspective that maybe you didn't see,
Mhm.
right? And being able to say in that moment, okay, I hear you. That makes sense. Do you think you can make it happen? Yes. Okay, cool. Go. Right. Because it would be irresponsible for me as a leader to not take into consideration the perspectives of the people around me.
Yeah.
Right. If something could be done better, I'm all for it. And truthfully, one of the things I learned in corporate, especially working in HR as I did, is that leadership can come from anywhere. You
Yeah.
know,
Very
you
true.
don't have to be just at the top to be a leader, you know? And as long as you're giving the space for people to exercise their own level of leadership and or autonomy, then you're it's going to lead to a better experience for you as a leader. It's going to lead to a better experience, excuse me, for your team. But more importantly, it's also going to lead to a better experience for the client, right? And that's what matters, right? So when things hit the fan, if everything if you're able to navigate things accordingly and the client still has a good experience, they're going to remember that because
Yeah.
they're going to say, hey, listen, this went wrong, this went wrong, this went wrong, and they still figured it out and made it happen.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's no
Yeah.
better compliment,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Exactly. Speaking of that, when things get heavy, entrepreneurship can feel lonely at times. So when things do get heavy, or when wins, or even when wins are quiet, there's really nothing coming in. How do you keep grounded?
It's tough. I'm not even gonna lie to you. Thinking about those ebbs and flows, man. Like the whole second half of 2025 from a business perspective, I'm not gonna lie, it was
Yeah.
terrible. So there were some dark times that
Yeah.
that that I'm just now coming out of.
Hmm.
And when it comes to just things not going the way that you want them to, I do my best to try and uh keep the perspective that this is only temporary,
Yeah.
right? And I, it helps to have friends that are also entrepreneurs that
Hmm.
have gone through something similar, right?
Hmm.
To be able to, have those conversations with, right?
Yeah.
Um, and I can say like it took me a while to start to find some entrepreneurship friends. So like the early years were extra tough because not
Hmm.
only was I going through it, but I was going through it 100% by
Yeah.
myself.
Yeah. Exactly.
The friends that I grew up with that I was super super tight with, like they don't know, they don't understand,
Hmm.
but and then on top of that, our friendship, you just go in different ways. Like
Yeah.
I guess that's the best way to explain it. It's like you develop differently, you go down different paths, right? So it's tough to maintain some relationships when you go off and onto a different path that they may not be familiar with, right?
Yeah.
And then another thing I'll say is, my wife has played a significant role in helping to keep me, you know,
Grounded.
from spiraling. Yeah, because it's easy, man. And so I would compare it to I studied martial arts for almost 10 years.
Hmm.
So I often compare it to like being in a ring and you're getting backed up into the corner, taking left and right, and you get to a point where it's like I just need to like make it to the end of the round.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
just need to make it to the
Yeah.
end of the
Yeah.
round.
Yeah. Exactly.
This is not going well. Like I'm tired, I'm out of breath, I'm getting my butt kicked. I'm trying to look for just small glimpse, a
Yeah.
small little opening
Opening.
that I
Yeah.
can that I can get at least get one or two off,
Yeah. Yeah.
but it's not looking good, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's just once it's all about staying the course,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
Any and everybody can do well when times are
Oh, yeah. That's easy.
right. But what happens when things aren't going well?
Hmm.
When the economy is in the bad spot? Like how
Go.
how are you going to make it through that? Right? I think those are the times that we realize what we're made of, right?
Hmm.
And B, it shows us, well, it just shows in general like how strong businesses are.
Yeah. Yeah.
Weak businesses don't make it through tough times.
No, no, not at all. They don't make it through COVID. They may limp after, that they may close, shut the doors, permanently. And I've been through it. I get those text messages. We text each other. And I probably told you this before, but it's funny because I beat up on myself when things are tough, right? There's
Hmm.
nothing coming in. Like, man, why did I do this? I should have never done this. I put myself out there and put my family out there. And then next thing you know, this big opportunity comes through. Then I'm like, man, why did I even doubt? You know what I mean? It's like,
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
I try to fight that the next time, but we're imperfect. So it's those feelings, that stress level, it's going to happen. And then again, a big opportunity presents itself. It's like, man, why was I beating myself up about that?
Yeah. Yeah.
Especially like you talk about building a sustainable business, you have a pipeline. People will know what you can offer, what you can do. So that's
Hmm.
always out there, and trusting that you've created a foundation that eventually, it's just starts feeding itself. But there's still going to be times where it's like, man, it's just quiet.
It's
What's
tough.
going on? Is my
It's
website not
tough.
up? My
Yeah.
website not up? What's going on? Let me check my
Yeah.
Google Ads. And then the next thing you know, there's a floodgate to the point where you can't even breathe because you're so busy. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's just fighting that, fighting that pummeling of yourself when times are low, when things are quiet, knowing that the wins are just around the corner.
Yeah.
The only
That's
people that
all it
know
is.
that, only people that realize that and understand that are fellow entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
have you ever
No,
you ever had that thought though? Maybe this isn't for me. Maybe I should quit.
I never felt like this isn't for me and I should quit. I have had moments where reluctantly I've thought maybe I get a job in the meantime, in between time, just to kind
Yeah,
of help myself like stabilize a little bit.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I have thought about that, and over the years, like right before COVID, I did grab a part time job
Hmm.
just to be able and I'm gonna keep it honest. Like right before COVID, I got a part time job at Best Buy.
Nice.
A, because it was convenient. B, because I got discounts. And what was I doing? I was building my equipment, right? So like I needed a new camera, I needed new lenses, I needed a new laptop. So I was thinking like, well, business is a little slow right now. I need a little bit of money just kind of stabilize, but I also need some new stuff. Best
There
Buy
you
it
go.
is.
Yeah.
So and it worked out beautifully, right? If there are times when, and I'm just saying this in general, like if there are times when entrepreneurs are wondering like if it's for them, I mean, I think that's a legitimate question to ask. But I would also challenge the thought of, well, why are you thinking about this? Are you not? Do you feel that you're not capable, or do you not have the tools and the resources that you need, right?
Hmm.
And if it's a tools and resources thing, okay, well, what is it that you need to get the tools and resources to be able to do what it is you need and want to do, right? So I think that, you know, people taking the time to self-reflect, ask themselves those tough questions, and really taking, that self-assessment, I guess is the best way to say it, right? I would say one of the greatest strengths, from my perspective, one of the greatest strengths that any entrepreneur can have is being extremely self-aware, right? The more self-aware you are, the more that can put you in a position to help you be successful, right? When people and companies begin to smell themselves too much or think that they know or can do better, when things start to become challenging, right? I mean, you look throughout history, how many titans are no longer here anymore because they thought they were too big, right?
Yeah.
Kodak, Xerox, uh I think about Sports Authority. I grew up going to Sports Authority. They not
Yeah.
here no more. Toys
Blockbuster.
R Us.
Oh yeah.
Like, the list, I mean, list goes on. Just these
Circuit City.
Circuit City, Circuit City, Sears. I mean,
Yeah.
shoot, even just malls, right? Like, there you're seeing the comp Blockbuster.
Kmart.
It's like, so it's either, companies take that self inventory, self assessment, and make necessary adjustments, or you put yourself in a position to no longer be here anymore, right?
Yeah.
So I think the questions are good. It's just making sure that you're asking the right questions, and it's leading to help you to make the right decisions.
Yeah. We haven't talked about community. I didn't even mention that in the introduction. But what are some of the things that you do in the community? I know you're big in the community as well.
Yeah, so there are a few things, right? So
Yeah.
a pure community standpoint is, I'm the chair of the North Greenwood CRA. So for
Okay.
those that aren't familiar, CRA stands for Community Redevelopment Area.
Hmm.
So it's basically a designation that's placed on the geographic area from a municipality. So in this case, people in the community had deep conversations with the city of Clearwater to do something, right? Because this community that I currently live in and grew up in, really, it's a historic Black community in Clearwater, and once upon a time was a very bustling and thriving
Yeah.
community, right? And then just over the decades, because of a variety of reasons that we don't have to go into right now, there's a reduction in investment in a lot of ways, right? So anytime that happens, the community can start to deteriorate, and that's what was happening here. So the CRA designation basically allows the community to redevelop itself from within. So the way that it works is that people pay property taxes. When a CRA is established, it basically freezes the tax rate at that point, so that as the tax value of properties in the area increase, the majority of that difference comes back to the community as a budget that we can use for any sort of development or redevelopment that we would like to see.
Nice.
So I'm the chair of the CRA committee. So that's that very near and dear to my heart. But I also serve on some boards of other nonprofits. I serve on a board for Tampa Bay Neighborhood Housing Services, which is an
Hmm.
affordable housing nonprofit in Tampa Bay. I serve on the Regional Council for Leadership Florida,
Hmm.
which is a leadership program that's Florida based all over the state. That they separate the state, into 9 different regions, and our region is the West Central region, which consists of Hillsborough, Pinellas, Pasco, Hernando, and Polk counties, I believe.
Okay.
So I serve on a regional council that basically helps to do events and organize things within the region, but we also kind of roll up and do some things. We help the state in different capacities as well. I serve on a nonprofit board for Project Link. It's Project Link was actually started in Hillsborough County, and it was founded as a basically truancy support.
Hmm.
So there was a partnership with Hillsborough County Schools that whenever a student was missing an excessive amount of school, the school board let the organization know so that the organization could come in and help provide support services. Because if there's an elementary school child or a middle school child that's missing an excessive amount of school, chances are there's something going on at
Yeah.
home that's keeping them from going to school. So that's where the nonprofit will come in and provide, services, whether it was clothes, food, um, job support, helping, with resumes and counseling and things like that. Because if the family unit is in a better spot, it helps set the children up for success, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
Trying to think. There are some other nonprofits I used to serve on the board for, but I've
Hmm.
since rolled off. But I think that's active right now. That's where I'm at actively. Yeah.
Good. And we just had the Rely Quest Bowl. You're part of that as well. I know
Oh,
you were,
I forgot about Rely Quest.
forgot
I,
about
I
the
felt
Blue
like I was forgetting
Blazer.
something. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I serve on the selection committee for the Rely Quest
There we
Bowl, and
go.
I'm also a team host, and that's
Hmm.
cool because the bowl is super involved in the community and giving back and supporting other nonprofits.
Hmm.
It's really the best of both worlds to be able to be involved with college football, which I love, but
Hmm.
also play a role in helping to give back to the community in other ways. So I knew I was forgetting something.
Yeah,
Thank
I
you,
was
man. I
like, how you
appreciate that.
forget that? I'm waiting. I'm throwing it up. I'm like, it's a softball, man. Hit it. Slow pitch. Nothing.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you.
All right,
Thank
so
you.
let's conclude on this. So if someone is listening, right, and they're sitting and
Uh huh.
they have an idea, they're just waiting for permission. right?
Hmm.
Normally permission comes from within. What would you
100%.
tell them? What would you tell them over a cup of tea, not coffee, tea right now?
That's a wonderful question. I would say personal and professional development never stops. And as long as you are willing to always learn and grow, that's half the battle, right? The other half is making sure that you have clarity in what it is that you want to do and who it is that you decide to serve. Because if people don't, you have the greatest idea in the world, you got the greatest service in the world, but if people don't know about it, it doesn't mean anything. And even worse, if people think they know what it is, but it's not really what it is, that's even worse, right? So, clarity in your communication, I think is something that everyone that strives to start a business in particular should make sure that they have, and make sure that you keep it as simple as possible. From a traditional marketing perspective, the easier that you make something for someone, the more likely they are to do it.
Yeah.
Right. So, yeah, I think those are good things to keep in mind.
Yeah. Thanks. Thanks, Canard. Thank you for joining me for a virtual cup of coffee and tea. All right.
Yeah.
And to my audience, thank you for listening to another episode of Grab Coffee with me, caffeinated by Dialed All Solutions. I hope you learned something today because I did. And if you like this episode, don't forget to like, share, subscribe on all major streaming platforms so you don't miss what's brewing next. Until next time, keep your coffee strong and your conversations meaningful.